I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we have a moment of silence, please? Roll call, Brooke.
Council President Chamberlain.
Here.
Councilor Briggs.
Here.
Councilor Wauseon. Here. Councilor Schneider.
Here.
Councilor Stickley.
Here.
Councilor Steers.
Here.
We have 6 members present. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Council has had time to approve the prior meeting's minutes.
I'd make a motion to accept the minutes as printed, Mayor.
Thank you, Harold. We were lost without you.
Yeah, we missed that. We
meeting.
Amen.
It took us 5 minutes to find out who was going to do that.
I'll second it.
Motion to approve the prior meeting minutes was moved by Councilor Stickley and seconded by Councilor Griggs. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. All right, next on the agenda, we have someone coming in to speak today. We have our superintendent of our school system for Wauseon, Troy Armstrong, and we have with him Dave Fleming, and they are coming in to just give us a little bit of an insert on the earned income levy that is coming up in November. Come up to our mic-less podium there.
Put that up there.
Welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Either appreciate it, and council appreciate you taking time today. So the board has a 2% earned income tax on the levy November 2nd. We've spent our time since the previous school year, prior to last November election, trying to get the word out through community meetings, through meetings of organizations, through parent meetings, meetings with our board, with our staff. So when this opportunity came up, it was just one more opportunity for us to get as much information out to the community so everyone can make an informed decision on November 2nd. So we do have a 2% earned income tax on the levy, or on the ballot on November 2nd. And I'm going to have Dave explain a little bit more about earned income tax versus traditional income tax.
So traditional income tax is what's termed as an all tax, and it taxes all types of income, whereas an earned income tax does just that. It taxes earned income. So really the only oddball thing that I'm aware of is partnerships. If you're a partner in a partnership, you're not allowed to take a W-2. So partnership income is taxed just like a W-2. Other than that, it's basically W-2 income. So if you're retired, you're not going to be taxed. If you become unemployed, your unemployment earnings are not taxed. Workers' comp is not taxed. Investment returns are not taxed because you're not out there actually physically earning those income streams. So really the only thing that would be taxed is W-2 income. So if you're retired and you're supplementing your income at Walmart, then that supplemental income would be taxed. If you have a job and you're working 40 hours a week, or sometimes 70, like my case, that income is taxed as well. And it only taxes people that live in the school district. So like I live in Swanton, work in Wauseon, I pay the Swanton School District income tax. Okay, so that's really kind of high level how the earned income tax works versus a traditional income tax. We will bring in less money than a traditional income tax, or I'm sorry, less money than a traditional. So our tax rate is a little bit higher. There are 19 districts in the 4-county area that have an income tax levy in place. Only 2 other districts are are earned income. 2 districts that currently have traditional income tax levies in place are at 1.75%, which is exactly equal to the 2% that we have on the ballot. So, do you guys have any questions for me about that? Concerns?
So is there any levies that are going off, and that's why we need the 2% more money?
Not initially. I refunded a bond in September, and that saved the taxpayers $135,000 per year. I refunded a bond when I first got here, saved about $70,000 a year. In 2024, there's another, our bond payments are going to ratchet down $750,000. And then in about 4 or 5 years, we've got an emergency levy that will be up for renewal. At that point, our hope is that we can just let that one roll off the rolls, and then in 5 years, this is a 5-year levy, then the constituents are going to be able to reassess the financial situation of the district. So no, nothing is coming off right now. There are many, many, many data points that I could provide. I don't have them with me tonight. It's about a 1-hour presentation to cover all those that are driving this situation. Just as an example, first of all, we haven't had any new money since 2011. And since 2011, our commitment to our special education population went from $1.8 million and we're over $3.6 million. That's a 104% increase since 2011. And we've had no new revenue streams since that time frame. So those are the kinds of things that are driving the need for this additional funding.
And when we look at revenue for a school district, there's federal dollars, there's state dollars, there's miscellaneous dollars, and then there's local dollars. So we don't have any control over federal dollars or state dollars. We can communicate with our legislators, which we do on a regular basis, but we don't really control that. Our federal dollars continuously decrease every year, with the expectations of service to remain the same. So really the only place a school district has to look to bring in more revenue is local revenue, either via property tax or via income tax. Our goal to have property and income is to diversify that income a little bit. Property tax that is set in 2020, 10 years from now, only collects what the value was in 2020. Dave does a way better job of explaining that than I do, but an increase in your property tax doesn't, or in my property tax and our property tax, doesn't mean school district sees more money. I'll have Dave explain that.
Yeah, so Ohio is the only state in the nation that is set up this way. Back in, I think in the 70s, they passed House Bill 920. And basically what it says is, if you pass a 5 mil levy and property values go up, that millage adjusts down so the collection stays the same. So since 2011, as property values have increased, we do have some inside millage. I think you guys are probably familiar with inside millage. We do gain revenue off of that, but it's a very small amount of money. All the other taxes that we have in place are fixed, so that there is no inflation factor in our revenue stream whatsoever. And that's something that's unique to Ohio only. We're the only state in the nation that's set up that way.
I've got a few questions. I've had people approach me and they said that they've heard farmers are not paying anything under this tax.
That's not true.
That's just what I've heard,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah. No, that's not correct. If they have a partnership, they're going to pay the tax. If they're a partner, the farm set up as a partnership. If they take any earned income out of that farm, they're going to pay tax. If, like my significant other's mother has got a few hundred acres that she leases out, rental property is not taxed under the earned income tax model. So if they're a farmer and they're just renting all their property and drawing revenue in that way, they wouldn't pay the tax on that rental income. But the farmer that's working that land, if he lives in the district, is going to pay income tax on those earnings. So that's a complex answer, but it's not totally true.
Another concern was brought up, the retirees don't have to pay. But the ones that have spoken to me, I'm a retiree, I'm a former teacher, they said, but our kids are gonna have to pay. You know, I mean, typically my age group votes for levies, okay? But now I think they're concerned that 2% is too high and their kids and grandkids who live in the district can't afford that.
Yeah.
And I've heard people say that I've supported it in the past, but I can't support this one. I mean, the percentage is what scares people rather than millage, I think.
Yeah, I understand. It is a high percentage. We're not trying to hide that fact at all. I've got some documents that I can leave with you guys if you'd like to have them that shows our revenue, local revenue stream as compared to the other 23 districts across the 4-county area. Back in 1998, local revenue made up 43% of the school district's total income. As Troy explained, that was federal, state, local, and miscellaneous. It dropped to 36.7% in 2006, and it is now down to 26.7%. So if we can pass this levy, it gets us back to the 36.7% that we were at pre-recession. We're not anywhere near the 43%. Also, the average local revenue across the 4-county area is about $5,800 per year. This will only get us to $5,050 local revenue. So it's a big number on the surface, but as far as getting us back to where we were, it's just putting us back where we were.
Well, along with that though, several people said to me, I haven't got a 2% raise in the last couple of years. Am I gonna vote to lose money? Because they would be voting to lose money. I mean, they would have less income if they have to pay 2% to schools and they're not getting a 2% raise. I mean, that's, and a lot of people are worried about that. They're having trouble paying bills now, and I've even talked to school personnel. I'm still friends with a lot of them. They're not happy with it. I mean, your own people aren't happy
Yeah,
with
they're
it.
not sharing that with us though, Steve.
No.
There's no one that shared that
Well-
negativity with us. And what I would encourage you to do is we have the PowerPoint presentation that we shared with the community at our community meetings. And we have voiceover on every slide, and it takes 18 minutes. Ask people to go out to our website, click on the levy information link, and watch that video. And that will answer all the questions as to the why. 2011 was the last time I asked for new money. Think about your bank account, 2011, if you didn't add anything to it. 10 years later, you still have the same expectations from the state. Our facilities are now 12 years old after the project. They're starting to fail. We have a boiler that failed. That's $100,000 to replace that boiler. If we don't replace that boiler at the middle school, there will not be heat this winter. Buses, I encourage you to go get on one of our buses. Get on our 20-year-old bus and tell me you want your kid to get on that bus and come to school. It's just, unfortunately, the reality of funding is, we all know that the fair school funding model just passed at the state level. That's not an answer. It's going to gain us about $47,000. But the federal government cut us by $15,000 this year, so do the math on that. It's wrong. But there's not much of an increase. It doesn't even pay for one teacher's salary. But I just want people to be informed. If they watch that video and they go to the polls and they vote no, well, at least they were informed, as opposed to saying, I got a beef with X, Y, or Z, and I'm just voting no, and I'm not informed.
Have we made any significant cuts in the last couple of years, or have we added teachers and staff in the last couple of years? Which way are we going?
When I came to the district, we took everybody's building budget and every department and every building, and I gave it, Dave helped me with this, we gave every principal and supervisor and director $0 and said, tell us how much money, zero-based budgeting if you're familiar with that, tell us what you need to run your department or your building. So that each department head and each principal had to come and sit with us and prove out their budget. What we had done in the past is just, here's what you had last year, so here's what you get this year, the next year. That alone cuts $67,000 right off the bat. Within months of me being here, Dave and I put that together. We had a employee in Dave's office, did human resources, as well as some fiscal things. She resigned, we didn't replace that position. Federal dollars wise, we used to have lots of tutors for Title I. We don't have those anymore because those dollars, we have 3 Title I teachers. Back in the day when I was here, we had 15, 16.
Which is sad. That's very sad that they've taken that.
That has reduced. We haven't added any new positions. Bus drivers, we cut a bus driver. We had 3 bus drivers retire, we added 2 for this school year. So anywhere through attrition we've been able to not replace, we haven't replaced.
Steve, another
That's-
thing that we have run into is we have a lot of, as this, all the federal agencies do, a lot of mandates that come down that are unfunded. For example, we have students over at New Horizons, and the state came in and said, I don't know what all the acronyms are, but we have to do a lot of testing for those kids, which it's a great program they have over there. We had to go out and hire a psychologist in order to do that testing to the tune of, salary plus benefits for a teacher. And, they didn't provide us with any funding to do it. We just had to do it. And then since 2016, we've had $500,000 in federal funding just taken out from under us, and we have to ship those costs up into our general fund, so.
We did add a COVID coordinator halfway through last year into this year with some of our federal dollars for some of our.
I noticed in your
area
minutes you were
dollars.
approved by your school board to hire 4 COVID-19 coordinators. You've hired 1.
Yes.
Okay.
It said 4?
Yeah, you were
Yes.
approved for 4.
Yes.
You were
Yes,
approved for 4.
we were approved for 4.
Then
We
you hired.
we hired
I was going to
one.
ask you today
Yes.
how many you hired.
Yeah, we hired 1. We had thought about having 1 per building, because I was the COVID coordinator, and I just honestly, I couldn't keep up with 1,900 kids and try to be superintendent as well. So we hired a COVID coordinator, but you're right, Shane, we only hired 1.
Okay, I was going to ask.
Yeah, and she'll be done, but we used our ESSER dollars for that.
She's killer.
I just wanted to say that I know there are always needs, but I did the calculations for what my household would be paying under this levy, and I have a kid who is 3 months away from being done with her braces payments, which I will have a party and cheer about that, because I set it up, to pay over 2 years. Well, my payment for the levy is going to be like a continuous braces payment. And so that, to me, it is a sacrifice. So, I think people just need the assurance that the funds are going to be put to the best use possible, and that the funds that you are getting are used appropriately too. If there are things to cut, I think people need to see that, when you go to people and ask for this much money in this way, they need to have the confidence that, cuts have been made.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been carrying around this flyer, and I just don't think that the information given in this is very telling, because when you say the percentage of local income, going toward this is dropped, that doesn't necessarily mean less money. It means you may have gotten more federal or state funding that year. So it doesn't really give an accurate picture of the funding that is going toward the school. So I didn't really I think, you pointed out these 3 years, and then talking about another year that's not on here. It just doesn't, it feels like it's not, super forthcoming about what the funding actually is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's just one piece of information. We've had 3 levy committees or community meetings, all different times of the day. We had a total of maybe 12 community members who come out, but we've had tens and tens and tens of staff come out to those. We've had we'll have some newspaper articles coming out. We've been in the newspapers. We've been around every organization you can think of, but that's one piece of information. But if that's the only piece of information,
I've tried to ask people, and I mean, this is what they got. Mm-hmm. So I didn't think that really gave them the information needed to make a good decision about it.
That probably doesn't, but these informational meetings have all the information. I'll be happy to sit down with you one-on-one to go through that.
Are the online?
They are.
Are they, you can actually watch them online as well?
There's one that's got audio, and then there's another one that I put together that I put text in all the PowerPoints, so you could
I think that would
punch
be
through
very
it and read it.
beneficial to the community, that they would be able to hear it,
Yeah,
a lot of people are, to be able to hear the question in the Q&A time. That, to me, answers a lot of questions. Like you said, you can only put so much on a flyer, but I think when we have our budget meetings and we try to cut things out, And then we come up with, like, when Jamie will bring forward, okay, insurance is going up 18%. And we have to figure out what we're gonna cut out here, there, and everywhere else, just so we can get insurance in for our employees. And how do you get that information out to the public? Where are we gonna cut? How are you gonna cut that? All in a matter of this short amount of time. You try to get as much information out as you can, but that's just one little budget item. There's so many things coming and going in federal money that you think you were gonna get, and then you got maybe 6 weeks and they tell you it's not coming in. Now you have to rearrange all of that budget again. I understand the dilemma of budget, and I understand when you think you're gonna be having an income and you don't. And I'm more worried about this for the fact that an earned income is the people who earn an income. What happens to that earned income if we have a factory go out and now we don't have that earned income and now they don't have that money coming in? I mean, because that's people in the district and a lot of people that are in the district. So
And
that
we-
concerns
The
me.
benefit for the community member who loses their job, because then they wouldn't pay the income tax.
They wouldn't pay
Because
that,
sure,
but then you
it's-
guys
it's-
aren't
right,
gonna
then
be
it's
getting it,
less-
so then we're right
less
back to
revenue, right.
that they're not getting it, so.
We're in the same situation.
Right, we are, and
Yeah.
I agree with that, so
Well-
we kind of parallel each other when it comes
Sure.
to
Well, you know,
levy money.
Things
one way or
I've heard
another.
is, the city has an income tax, and now
Mhm.
you're an income tax. How can I pay the city income tax? How can I pay the school income tax?
Right.
So the
And
bottom-
we all know that a great school system, obviously, all the benefits that come with that. However, there comes a threshold of getting to that other side of it that's, if I move to Wauseon, I have to pay that. So how close can you get to that threshold until you go over? And that's not gonna benefit us, you know?
And right now, Archbold does not have an income tax in Fulton County. Is that it? It's just Archbold.
Oh, in Fulton County, yeah.
In Fulton County, I can't do, but Fulton County, in Fulton County, Archbold's the only other school district that doesn't have an income tax right now.
Just one point about the flyer, it is extremely difficult. This is a very complex problem that we have, and like I said, I'd be happy to sit down with anybody and explain, and like I had Shane come over and I actually pulled up our financials and showed him, here's where all the marbles are, here's where all the money's sitting. It's very complex, and to try to get that across on a mailer.
Well, I can guarantee you
challenging.
need more money. Like, I don't
For
doubt
sure.
that. I mean, and I appreciate you doing what you can for Wauseon students. I mean, I know that it's to their benefit. I just think it just doesn't tell, because local went down to 24% of the pie just doesn't mean that they have less money locally. Do you know what I'm saying? Could it
Right,
mean
right.
that? Yes, it could, but it could just mean you got a bigger share of federal and state funding that year.
We're
So-
not getting more federal, and we're actually behind the 8 ball when it comes to state funding, because what they're giving us, I mean, we've been flat funded since 2019. We've got no more money except $47,000 this year. We spend $52,000 a day. So our state funding has actually been cut. If you go back to 2015, the district got an additional $1 million of funding from the state. That's the last time that happened. There is over $8 billion sitting in reserves across the state in school districts in reserves. We don't have enough money in reserves, but across the state, when the state looks at giving more money to schools, that's what they look at. How much money is sitting in the coffers at schools? When they look at that number, they say, you don't need any money. So they're not gonna come in and save the day this time. This district was in this very position in 2014, and then until the state, so they're very observant of you to think about that. The state came in and increased their funding by over $1 million a year. That's not gonna happen this time. If that happened, we'd probably be at the 1% level or 0.75% or something lower. It's just not gonna happen this time.
And I just encourage you to watch that video, because everything we're saying is in there. It shows you us compared to the state average, it shows us compared to similar districts, it shows us compared to the NWOAL, but it just shows you that we're just so far behind most districts have had an income tax since many have had since 1992. And they have that revenue, that additional revenue coming in. So if you watch that video, you'll get more answers to some of the questions you've asked tonight.
Another, I've been approached with, I guess I'm out too much, or they know I'm,
You're always driving around.
well, I'm driving around, I'm with the school, was with the schools. I've had people criticize, we have too many secretaries. Okay, secretary for guidance counselor, secretary for treasurer, secretary. I mean, everybody seems to have a secretary now, okay? They said, they thought we could cut librarians, combine them. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm just telling you what I'm hearing, okay? That seems to be a big, people they look for reasons to vote no.
Sure.
They look for reasons, but I told somebody today, I said, what worries me, what happens is, once you vote no on something, it's easier to vote no on the next time. So if this doesn't go through in the fall, you're gonna have a problem the next time, even if you lower it a little bit,
Yeah, and see, we don't have any counselor secretaries. There's no secretaries in the district for counselors. I don't know where that came from.
Curriculum director?
Our director of student services, Michelle Leatherman, she has a secretary. Yes,
Part-time.
Okay.
part-time secretary, yes, but she's not a counselor.
Well,
She's
no,
the director.
I meant for different administrative positions, they thought we had too many secretaries.
Wow, they should compare to other school districts.
Yeah. Well, I'm back to the day when I went to school there and first started teaching, there were 2 secretaries in the entire building. That was it.
It was only one building.
No,
That was a long time ago, Steve.
No, I know it's a long time ago.
A lot more goes on.
But people are looking for ways to
Sure,
trim.
yeah, but that's just not true. We don't have secretaries for counselors.
If you look at our video, the ODE does a calculation on number of pupils per administrator. We have the highest number of pupils per administrator. We're operating at the most efficient level of any other district in the whole 4-county area. And we have the lowest level of funding of any district in the whole 4-county area. And this funding isn't even going to get us to average.
Harold?
Okay, the 2% say it passes. This is gonna make all employers work harder and cost more also, because just like Jamie over there, everybody that lives in the school district that gets a paycheck every 2 weeks, you're gonna have to take out income tax on 2% more and send it to the school, is that correct?
Send it to the Ohio Department of Taxation.
Same thing. So, and I got 5 that's gotta come out, 2's in Pettisville, so my accountant's gonna say, no problem, Harold, but this is gonna cost you another $30 every 2 weeks. Yeah, whatever. So it's gonna cost a lot of employers a lot of money beyond the 2%. Because they're gonna have to pull this out of people's wages, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every pay period and send it. So then you guys get it back. Is that the system gonna wait?
They already take taxes out anyway, so it's not like they're gonna have all these
They'll have
extra
more-
hours
they'll
designated.
have more to take out.
They just change the percentages of things, you know
Yeah,
what
I
I
know,
mean?
I know.
It's
But
all,
I'm just saying, that's how the-
it could be.
But that's how the flow is
for an
gonna go,
employer.
is that
is how
correct?
the flow.
yeah. I've been processing payroll for over 20 years, and I've been withholding city income tax, and if you're already doing it for one school, it's just another line. I would be stunned if anybody tried to charge you more money to do that, but it could
No, they
happen.
will.
Yeah, it could happen.
It's a gimmick. Everybody can do it.
Does anybody else have any other
Go ahead.
questions?
This is a 5-year levy, correct?
Yes.
So
Correct.
At the end of
So
5
years,
years,
it's-
we'll revisit
Right.
this.
Right.
So this website, so tell me the exact address.
Yeah.
I mean, you haven't
Yeah.
told us that.
Yeah,
I'm
it's a good
curious.
point. Yeah, if you go to wauseonindians.org,
Yes, sir.
that'll drop you right on our homepage, and then there are 2 white rectangular buttons. One is levy information from the district, where we can't say vote yes, so it's frequently asked questions in the 2 presentations I talked about.
Wauseonindians.org.
Yep. And then there's another button that if you push, it'll take you to the levy committee's website, which has levy committee information out there.
I'd like to say something really quickly. Just Steve and I have not discussed this, but I also asked, people that live in the district, what do you see, as potential cuts if it doesn't pass? And I heard multiple people say support staff. And I know that that is a drop in the bucket for what is actually needed, but there is a viewpoint out there that there's too much support staff, whether or not that's true.
Right.
It's an easy target. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. So what the cuts would be if it doesn't pass is 25 employees, approximately 25 employees. Will reduce to minimum transportation, which would be only students who live 2 miles outside of their school district building. And the third thing is we'll reduce all extracurriculars. And so that's athletics, clubs. It's about $500,000. So there won't be any athletics, there won't be any clubs. Kids will come to school, go home afterwards, walking most of them.
Do you know what it costs per day for transportation? Do you have that broken
No,
down?
off the top of my head, I don't have that.
$811,000 a year. Divided by 184-ish. It's about $4,500 a day.
Okay. It's minimal, but I've thought, why can't we shorten the school year, extend the day, half hour or an hour? Still get the same number of hours in a year, but cut maybe 2 or 3 weeks off the school year. That would cut 10 to 15 days of transportation. You wouldn't be paying the bus drivers for those days. You wouldn't be paying extra gas for those days.
It would have to be negotiated.
Well, I understand that, but I'm just
2
saying,
days.
if things get really tight,
Yeah.
that's a way to trim something
Nothing's
without
gonna be off
cutting
the table.
hours, without cutting staff.
Sure. Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's an idea.
But I don't know if that would have to be a state-approved thing.
As long as you meet the minimum number of hours in a school year, we can kind of set the day up like what. Now, I don't know what the community with parents would be like, but their kids are going to school, the kindergarten are going to school till 5, but in bad times, it might have to be what we.
Some of them might like it simply because they only pay.
Many years ago, we looked at two shifts. I wasn't in the district.
Yeah.
It was early in career, but we had that levy failed and went to a 2-shift process. Luckily, it passed the second time.
I just have a couple questions real quick, Mayor.
Yeah,
If I-
go ahead.
Thanks. Well, first off, meeting with Dave was great, guys. I strongly encourage anybody that has any questions.
Did you
Sit-
call Dave in and you got a personal
No,
one-on-one?
I'm
impressed.
No,
that you did.
but if anybody has time to sit down and see the numbers.
Did he have to come in and see you for any reason?
No, it was outside his monthly report date. As a probation officer, I do not see Dave. Let's just say that's great. It's very informative. So thanks for the time.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
that. Just a couple of questions. I see in your minutes that you're set aside for a bus garage of $623,000. What's going on there?
So
You guys-
our goal is to build on-site, build a bus
Oh, really?
garage on-site.
Okay.
So we currently use the old state building that
Yeah.
the city owns. And so our goal is to build right next to the bus slot. So that we have some bays to repair, possibly wash buses. But that's what that's set aside
Yeah.
for, is for the day where, because we're in an agreement, in a 5-year agreement, we have 2 years left with the city.
Has the landlord been okay?
Landlord's been okay.
All right,
But
okay.
if you've been in that facility. you
All right,
know
you have an
that-
opportunity to talk to the
Yes,
landlord right
yes,
now if you
yes.
have any issues.
Yes.
All right.
But that's about, that's
All
the
right.
side, is to ultimately have that on our own.
Is that possible on the chopping block? I mean, if.
Oh, yeah.
Every-
that-
every-
yes,
Okay,
yeah.
all right, okay.
It's in an account that's set aside. It can
We
sit
do
there
set
for-
asides as well,
Okay.
so, yeah.
So you understand that that can go back to the general fund
Right.
within that, if we don't spend it within that 10-year period.
Director of Instructional Services, the same thing as a curriculum director or no?
Yeah, I changed the title of Michelle Leatherman to Director of Instructional Services.
So she's not the Director of Student Services?
No, our Director of Student Services is Special Education. That's Jennifer Grimm, thank you.
Okay.
She handles all of our special education in the district. And then Instructional Services is curriculum, testing, gifted, because the title of curriculum director sounded like it was just about curriculum.
Gotcha.
It's not anymore. Testing, gifted, 504s, et cetera.
And the student service, director of student services, do they work in conjunction with your 2 guidance counselors, or?
Michelle Leatherman, the director
Yes.
of instructional services,
Okay.
she oversees our counselors.
Okay, so she's the supervisor of your 2 guidance counselors.
Well, we have 6 guidance counselors.
Oh, 6,
So-
okay.
So, well, let me, that's 5. Primary, elementary, middle school, 2 high school, 5.
Okay. And then, well, the big question is, so over the 5 years, you'll raise over $20 million. What's your plan?
So, again, if you look at that, if you watch that video, you'll see some of this. But, so 1.75 is for operating, 0.25 is for permanent improvement. So if you go out to our facilities, I walk around our facilities and go, we have awesome facilities. And then I meet with the softball coach at the softball diamond, and I look at the softball diamond and I find out that it's not regulation distance from the baseline to the fence at the dugouts, from the home plate to the backstop. The fence out at the outfield fence, none of that's regulation. We had a girl get injured, possibly due to the fact, not our girl, from another team get injured, possibly due to the fact that the backstop was so close to home plate. So we've got a lot of work to do on the softball complex. Softball complex does not have a concession stand or a press box. We do at the baseball diamond. Now we're talking about a Title IX issue. We're not equal. We don't treat our female athletes in softball the way we do our male athletes in baseball. So facility-wise, go into the auditorium, 42 years old. There hasn't been an upgrade in the auditorium besides the LED lighting that we put in the LED project. Curtains, 6 sets of curtains?
6 sets.
6 sets of curtains, about $40,000 a set. Did I have that number right?
No, about 25.
$25,000 a set. So those have to be replaced. The seating in the auditorium, if you sit in the seats in the auditorium, that needs to be replaced. We spent about just under $10,000 on the pool to drain the pool, seal the pool, make sure the pool was ready for something we should do on an annual basis. According to the pool experts, we do it once every 10 to 15 years. So facilities is a huge part of that. And then what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to maintain 6 teachers in every grade level, kindergarten through grade. We have to have a class size at the younger grades that is somewhere around 22, not 23, 24, 25, okay? But every year I look at that. We look at that every grade level. I did it when I was the principal there, I do it now. Look at, okay, we have less kids in kindergarten, so we don't need 6 teachers in first grade, so we're gonna have the class size in first grade next year be 24. Because we've got a smaller class, and we're gonna take a teacher away from that and riff that teacher or move them. I want to just have 6 classrooms in every grade level, K to 5, so that we can have a smaller class size. I'm not talking 18. I'm talking 20, 22. Look,
I heard that happening in another school district with teachers that were teaching like in kindergarten for 15 years, and all of a sudden, boom, you're now teaching up in the 4th grade level because they had all,
Sure,
that
sure,
was there.
shuffle.
I want to piggyback on his, the counselors that you needed. You said you wanted, there's 6.
There's
What-
5.
5, okay.
There's 5
The
counselors.
increase in the IEPs that you guys have to handle for these students that are coming in is huge, and it is forever changing with students with different needs and things that now you are responsible for. That is another mandate that comes down from the state. So that also has to go through your counselor in each school system.
No, our interventions.
And teacher.
So our counselors don't work with our special needs students
Okay.
unless they're just in normal student.
But doesn't
role.
that usually start in the classroom and then moves forward?
So yeah, special education identification begins in the classroom, then moves on, if a child's gonna be identified, it moves on to a team of intervention specialists, regular ed teacher, in either the principal or our student service director, depending.
But that is such a huge.
Oh, sometimes the counselor
work.
is written into it.
Right.
There are
And
some
I think
some
about
counselors-
all of that. I mean, just one student and how many IEPs you make throughout the year in just one school, and then you multiply that
Yeah,
by
special ed,
3
they-
schools.
they
And
talk
that's
about-
a lot of work, and I just know, going through that that's just one thing. And like you brought up about the other school as well, Sarah's Garden, and all of that you have to go through. There's
That's grown.
personnel that has to take
Right.
care of that.
That's
Because-
grown from 0 to over $2 million annually
Mhm.
for us to do what we're mandated to do. And I'm not saying, I think what they have going on over there is a great thing, but we've gone over the last 11, 12 years from $0 to over $2 million that we spend to support Sarah's Garden.
So-
And I think of how it is to run the city. Every one of these guys sitting here, when, they've all seen the change. They've seen the state mandates, and we've all seen it as well. It's costly. You have, the education is costly, everything is costly, and that's very hard to get that across. But in the same meantime, we have so much, economic means coming back into the city, so it's on the ballot.
Yeah.
Shane, I did want to finish.
Yeah, yeah.
So then, at the high school, so there's one goal for ODE in the strategic plan, 2019 to 2024. That one goal is to prepare every kid when they leave high school to be prepared for the workforce, the military, earn a living wage. That's whatever that is, entrepreneurship, their own job, or go on to a secondary education, 2-year college, trade school, 4-year college. In order for us to prepare our kids for that, we got to bring back things at the high school. We got to bring back industrial technology.
Yes.
We need to expand our home economics. There's a new legislation, House Bill 1, that will pass, that will mandate every freshman have financial literacy. We offer that right now as an elective. We're gonna have to provide that
You're now
every ninth
writing a
grader.
check.
We're gonna need more teachers in order to do that, because one teacher can't teach an entire freshman class financial literacy.
But will
and
they
still do-
finance the schools?
But there's no funding for that. It's an unfunded mandate.
There
You
you
guys
go.
understand unfunded
Yeah,
mandates.
yeah.
So, do I think it's important? I've been preaching financial literacy and having our kids be able to have some classes around financial literacy since we've been doing these meetings. Well, now it's gonna happen, it's just gonna be unfunded. That's gonna take
That's a
more
little
people.
ironic, isn't it? They don't
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna take more people. But those are the types of, at the high school and middle school, we have VOAG at the middle school, so we have that a little bit. There's more we could do to prepare kids so that when they leave high school, they're ready to go to work. I want to work with, I've already started some of these relationships, but I want our kids leaving high school with through an internship ready to go to Swanton Welding.
Yep.
That's happening over in Swanton right now because they're right there. Norm Zider and I are friends, and he's like, I went over in the tour, he's like, let's do it in Wauseon. So, but we're gonna need someone to lead that class with those kids when they're traveling over there, or their teacher, or their person's coming to see us. So those are that's $20 million, that's our budget. That's 1 year budget, $20 million, it's 1 year budget.
$20 million is what you'll net from this 2% increase over 5 years.
Over 5 years,
Right.
right.
And what's described in your legislation is used for current expenses and permanent improvements. And what's that pie again, of how much percentage to?
1.75 to operation, and
Okay.
0.25 to permanent improvement, which is approximately 5.
It's about $500,000 a year.
And that's buying buses, keeping our buildings up, paving our driveways, sealing our driveways.
If I can offer one editorial,
Buses.
I saw your $49,000 set aside for the softball field. As a softball enthusiast, I expect more, okay? No, I'm just joking.
Seriously, case done. Move on.
Our set-asides, we looked at some ESSER dollars, some government, federal dollars at the softball field to see, hey, could we take a safety angle at
That's what I was
this?
just
So
wondering.
bottom line is the money we've gotten from the state is like a one-time punch, and that's it. It doesn't last very long. It can get you, so we're looking at some things like that. But you're right, it's not enough money.
Yeah, I was Don't have.
Kathy, can I make,
Do
can
you
I
have
make one
7
more?
periods yet a day? 7?
Yes, 7.
Yes. I fought that years ago, changing from 8 to 7. That extra period would give you a chance to put industrial technology in,
More period
do
than that.
more languages, so forth, because a kid that's college prep is taking all the good stuff. He can't take, like
Right.
Mr. Fraser used to have, senior non-major industrial arts, which a kid could take that. Or your other kids who are in advanced math and calculus, they can't take financial planning. They don't have a period open for it.
Right.
If you
Yeah.
went back to 8 periods, a kid would have 4 more different classes he could take throughout high school. But you're limiting now with 7 periods a day.
You gotta pay somebody
Yeah.
to teach it.
Can I make one more comment?
Yes, go ahead.
Just food for thought, along the lines of staffing and whether we're overstaffed or not. We have been identified because of our financial situation. 4 districts in the state are having what's called a performance audit by the Auditor of State. So they're going to come in, it takes 8 months to complete this audit. Be happy once it's done to publicize it. And they're going to look at our staffing levels, all of our curriculum, all of our programs, everything across the board. And they're going to do a performance audit and come back and say, you're heavy here, you're light here, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, and we got identified for that because of our situation that we're in. Because we're one of the 4, I hate to say it, but bottom of the barrel schools across the entire state out of 610 schools. That's why they want to come do this for Wauseon.
Very good, very good. Okay,
Thanks
well,
for
thank
coming.
you.
Yes,
Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Troy.
Very informative. Thank you for the questions, council. All right, we're going to move on. Welcome back, department heads.
Yeah, welcome back to Department Heads.
All right, let's see. Oh, committee reports. We have nothing. Let's see, where are our department heads? We don't have any department heads on here, do we?
Oh.
Okay.
Out of here.
No. Let's add in, council, if you are okay, we're gonna add our department heads in after the individuals. So we're gonna bump that in there and make that number 7. Okay?
I'd make a motion to amend the agenda.
I'll second it.
Sorry, Brooke?
Council President Chamberlain moved with Councilor Griggs seconding to amend the agenda.
All in favor, you want to go roll call?
Oh, shoot, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, Chief Sluter, what's happening?
I have nothing new to present. Just in case you had any questions, I was here for council of the whole.
I've seen that big training thing out there, trailer out there.
That's from the Ohio Fire Academy. That's a driving simulating trainer where we let them drive an ambulance and fire truck in there through simulated training courses, and we go over Ohio laws, rules, regulations on driving emergency vehicles. So
That's pretty cool.
that's what.
Do
that's
mayors
what
get to
give it
drive?
What's that?
Do mayors get to
If
drive?
you want to come out tomorrow, they'll be back here and we'll take care of you.
Can there be an audience?
If any of you want to see it, if any of you want to see it, stop in, we can show it to you, it's neat.
It looks pretty cool. It really does.
What is it?
A driving simulator for ambulances and fire trucks.
No kidding.
Mhm. Yeah, you can't go
Well,
Indy
it's better
on
than
it.
wrecking them before you learn how to drive them.
Yeah. It's cheap.
Yeah. That's good.
Any questions for the chief? Chief Chittenden?
I really don't have anything new since Thursday either. I was here for a committee meeting, and
Okay.
I think I answered everybody's questions there, but if anybody has any more, anything I came up over the weekend or thought of,
Any questions? Great. Welcome back, Keith. He's been gone for a week, learning all
I was
kinds of
not
new
at the
things.
committee of the whole, so
Yes.
I have a couple of things. One, I was at a training for the Ohio Public Service Institute. It's put on by the American Public Works Association. It's the first time in the state of Ohio. It's a leadership training geared for public works, public sector employees such as water, wastewater, parks. Those employees, it's a program that they've had in the state of Michigan for 28 years. They've just brought it into Ohio. They've been working on it for 5 years, and then COVID struck, so they weren't able to have it last year. This year is the first I'm part of the inaugural class that's going through it. It's a 3-year program, 1 week a year, and they rotate the curriculum every 3 years. So we will be sending other people to it after I graduate through it. Also, just to let you know, we have our public hearing coming up, our public meeting coming up next council meeting, just before next council meeting at 4 p.m. on the Brunel Street project, so that we have sent out letters to the residents in the area. If they have any questions, we'll have an engineer here to run them through what's going to be happening, what the improvements are going to be, and we are scheduled to put it out to bid in December on that project and hopefully be underway next year.
When's that gonna be, Keith?
Next Monday, the 18th at 4 p.m. here in council chambers.
What time?
4 p.m.
Thank you, sir. I have a hard time hearing over here.
Yeah.
And other than still working on several projects, both in the water and wastewater department, we will be working on a storm sewer addition on Glenwood between Elm and Beach Street to add on additional storm sewers there. That's what I've got, unless anybody has any questions.
I was curious as to the unlimited pickup. How many dumpsters did we go through this last week?
Only 13. That was half of what we had last year, but we had it last year, and the year before we didn't have it, so we ended up with 27, so we were at the halfway mark.
I was hoping it would be.
I was hoping, I saw several places that I was hoping would
Yes.
take advantage of it that didn't.
As I.
But we will be addressing them through our legal department here next week.
Thank you. Any other questions for Keith? Jamie?
I don't have anything new to report. I provided you with the income tax information on my email today in our month-end reports for September. So that's all I had tonight.
We're still up.
Yes.
Good.
Mhm.
That's very good.
Jamie, would we be able to get some sort of a pool breakdown as to expenses, income, concessions, so we can see how the pool went this year, just an individual thing in the pool?
Yes, the pool information is provided in those month-end statements that I provided to you. If you want something separate, I can do that as well.
It might be better, I'm in no rush for it, I'd just like to see it, so.
Any other questions for Jamie? And our substitute Tom here?
Mr. McWaters gave me no updates, so
No update?
I have nothing.
He has no cell service up north, that's all we know.
That's the word on the street, yes.
Okay. Any questions for our substitute law director? All right. Okay, if that's it, then we can move on. Committee reports, we have nothing. So we're going to move on to our legislation. We have under first reading, Resolution 2021-12, a resolution accepting the amounts and the rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor. We need a motion to place Resolution 2021-12 on a final reading.
First reading on 2021-12 for emergency.
Second.
Motion to put Resolution 2021-12 on final reading was moved by Council President Chamberlain and seconded by Councilor Steers. Any discussion? Council President Chamberlain?
Yes.
Councilor Steers?
Yes.
Councilor Schneider?
Yes.
Councilor Griggs?
Yes.
Councilor Stickley?
Yes.
Councilor Heising?
Yes.
6 yeas, 0 nays, motion carries.
No, this is just it's a final reading and not an emergency, but she read it back correctly.
Okay.
She's got your back.
Yep.
Resolution 2021-13, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter in agreements with Fulton County for the purpose of emergency medical and ambulance services and declaring an emergency.
I will make that motion.
I can second it. whatever.
Motion to place resolution 2021-13 on emergency reading was moved by Counselor Stickley and seconded by Counselor Heising. Any discussion? Counselor Stickley?
Yes.
Counselor Heising?
Yes.
Counselor Steers?
Yes.
Counselor Griggs?
Yes.
Counselor Schneider?
Yes.
Council President Chamberlain?
Abstain?
5 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstain, motion carries.
We need to finalize.
Yes.
I'll make the motion to finalize that.
Second.
Motion to place resolution 2021-13 on final reading was moved by Counselor Griggs and seconded by Counselor Schneider. Any discussion? Counselor Griggs?
Yes.
Counselor Schneider?
Yes.
Counselor Stickley?
Yes.
Counselor Heising?
Yes.
Counselor Steers?
Yes.
Council President Chamberlain?
Abstain?
5 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstain, motion carries.
Thank you. Second reading. Ordinance 2021-7, an ordinance authorizing the annexation of real property to the city of Wauseon.
I'd make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion to put ordinance 2021-7 on second reading and the second reading be passed, moved by Counselor Stickley and seconded by Counselor Griggs. Any discussion? Counselor Stickley?
Yes.
Counselor Griggs?
Yes.
Counselor Schneider?
Yes.
Council President Chamberlain?
Yes.
Counselor Heising?
Yes.
Counselor Steers?
Yes.
6 yeas, 0 nays, motion carries.
And ordinance 2021-9, an ordinance authorizing the annexation of real property to the city of Wauseon.
Second reading?
Second.
Motion to put ordinance 2021-9 on second reading and the second reading be passed, moved by Council President Chamberlain and seconded by Counselor Steers. Any discussion? Council President Chamberlain?
Yes.
Counselor Steers?
Yes.
Counselor Heising?
Yes.
Counselor Stickley?
Yes.
Counselor Griggs?
Yes.
Counselor Schneider?
Yes.
6 yeas, 0 nays, motion carries.
We have nothing under third reading. Under new business, I'm going to need a motion to accept the sum of $147,973.17 from the Undivided Local Government Fund as the City of Wauseon's share of the Undivided Local Government Fund.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Counselor Stickley moved and seconded by Counselor Heising to accept the sum from the Undivided Local Government Fund. Is there any discussion? Counselor Stickley?
Yes.
Counselor Heising?
Yes.
Counselor Steers?
Yes.
Counselor Griggs?
Yes.
Counselor Schneider?
Yes.
Council President Chamberlain?
Yes.
6 yeas, 0 nays, motion carries.
Anything else for new business? I have nothing under old business. I guess all we need is a motion to pay the bills.
Make that motion.
Second?
Motion to approve and pay the bills as presented, moved by Counselor Schneider and seconded by Council President Chamberlain. Any discussion? Counselor Schneider?
Yes.
Council President Chamberlain?
Pay the bills.
Counselor Griggs?
Yes.
Counselor Stickley?
Yes.
Counselor Heising?
Yes.
Counselor Steers?
Yes.
6 yeas, 0 nays, motion carries.
Okay, motion for adjournment, please.
I'll make that motion.
I will second it.
Motion to adjourn was moved by Counselor Stickley and seconded by Counselor Heising. All in favor?
Aye.